Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of American Viscountess at Home. And as I promised before, from time to time, I will be having guests appear. And today, my guest is my father-in-law, John Montagu, the 11th Earl of Sandwich. Really exciting to have him here because we are going to be discussing coronations. It is really coronation fever right now. We haven't had a coronation since Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that because my father-in-law, it's fair to say that you were there.
Well, we were getting very wet. I'll tell you how the day began, though, because the news came through of the conquest of Everest, of Hillary and Tenzing. And this was absolutely amazing news and a really good omen for the coronation. And I remember sunshine at that point in the day. But what happened was that the rain came down after that, and people had been living on the pavement for more than a night and a half, I should think, some of them for 2 nights, queuing, but planting their position.
Yes.
And we were very lucky to have parliamentary access through a ramp with seats on it. So my sister Kate and my mother, I'm not sure who else was there, all sat in the rain watching all these terrible soaked newspapers being driven away by, well, there were people coming and, you know, the horses started coming and they had to clean up the mess before the coach arrived and all that sort of thing.
No, of course.
So it's a rather confusing picture for you.
But you were how old at that time? That's 1950.
So I was 10 years old.
10 years old.
Yes, June the 2nd.
So your father then, of course, at that time, and your mother, they weren't yet the Earl and Countess of Sandwich. They were Viscount and Viscountess Hinchingbrooke. And I have the invites, they received the invite in Viscount and Viscountess Hinchingbrooke to attend the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. Tell me just a little bit about the excitement of the day because, Queen Elizabeth, she was the longest reigning monarch. She's loved by so many people around the world. And you were there on that day when she was pronounced, officially queen. What was the energy around that day? What can you remember?
So, of course, I can remember the moments of Her Majesty going past in, literally seconds. But I can also remember the troops and all the different regiments that came out. That was the most impressive to a 10-year-old. I acquired a whole not life-size, model in cardboard of the procession. And I kept putting that up in my bedroom, I think, for a couple of years afterwards. So I really was very conscious of what was happening and involved from a distance.
Yes. No, I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. And did your mother was with you, it sounds like, on that day? Is that right?
I don't know who else would have been there. But if Mum had a seat in the coronation, which is quite possible, then there must have been a nanny there. I just cannot remember that.
Right. No, well, I mean, you were 10.
I had a brownie box camera, and I've taken the worst pictures ever taken, I think, by anybody. I was completely unaware of how to do photography.
So describe to me, you wake up that morning, it's excitement, but you were watching it from where? Where were you watching the coronation and the Queen?
Well, it was a stand put up at the Victoria Tower end, which is now the House of Lords end. And that is where the junction was with the street where we actually lived. So it was very, very close to Westminster itself.
Right, so you did have a place especially for you.
Yes, it wasn't next to the Abbey, it was next to Parliament.
Next to Parliament.
Yeah.
And you were able to watch the procession.
So we were given that as a right. A family had 4 tickets or whatever it was.
Right. Fantastic. And you do remember the Queen coming by in the carriage
Oh yes, of course.
Yes?
Yes.
And what do you remember what you saw from her in the carriage? Was
So-
she waving?
So I can, well, I can't tell you that detail. I just remember the glimpse of seeing.
Right.
But the horses left manure all the way down the street. So the most exciting thing for 10-year-olds was to seeing the way that they had to scrub up all the manure before something else came along. It was terribly funny.
Now, something I didn't know, and what you mentioned earlier, was that it was raining there. So and was it raining throughout the entire procession?
Well, as I say, when we woke up in the morning, I distinctly remember flashes of sunlight. So it must have been either overnight, but it was definitely raining during the day as well. Yeah.
During the day, yes.
Because it took a long time waiting for this whole thing
Of course.
to come, for to begin with, and then waiting for it to go past, and after that you couldn't get down straight away, I don't think.
Right. So, but you stayed at your spot, while the Queen was inside, all the ceremonial aspects around that, and then when she exited, were you still there when
Well,
it was?
I think they went straight to the Mall after that. I don't think we probably saw the return, but I've not done any research into the route what that was
Right,
taken.
right.
But if I was her, I would want to get straight to Buckingham Palace from the Abbey, not come past.
No, it's just wonderful just to hear your memories. And, something I didn't know that you were actually there in 1953 until recently. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation. One question that I know many people will be asking is the coronation of King Charles III. Were you invited? Because, of course, in 1953, all of the peers were invited to the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. But things are different this year. So were you invited?
So I think the monarchy has scaled down a bit, I'm pleased to say, from the 1953 experience. And King Charles is very aware of, through his charities, of the involvement of many different people in the idea of monarchy. I mean, that is principally the public, but I think non-governmental organizations, which I've worked with, and I understand the whole feeling. They do like to be recognized themselves, and they will be present in large numbers in
Yes.
the Abbey, there's no doubt about that. As whether I personally mind, I have the right, apparently, to stand and watch. I don't think I'm going to do that because the television is so brilliant nowadays.
But you didn't get an official invite to.
So no, what happened was there was a ballot for each party and each group in the House of Lords, and so many drew the ballot. So I mean, I assume that I wasn't drawn. That's all.
Right. Yes. No, but as you said, this is a new monarchy. Things are evolving. They're different, and rightfully so.
I think it is right. And after all, the Houses of Parliament are only one manifestation, one institution. There's so many others that should be recognised on an occasion like this. It is once in a lifetime, of course.
Of course. Having sort of taken all the archives out of the Muniment room, redecorated, renovated the Muniment room, and put all the archives back, when I was putting them back, I found this.
Where did you find it?
So we're going to go back a little bit in time. But I found this as I was putting things back on their shelves, and I opened it up, and it is the form and order of the service for the coronation of their Majesties, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the 12th of May, 1937. So I'm doing my master's, and I have this huge interest in your grandmother, Alberta, the American Countess of Sandwich, and she would have been at this with George, because at that time she became the Countess of Sandwich in 1916. So did George became the Earl of Sandwich. So they would have gone to this ceremony, absolutely, to the coronation. And this would have been their program.
It's beautifully done, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It's so well printed, but it's also in such good condition.
Yes, yes, it is. And I just love all the contents it has: the entrance into the church, the anointing, the investiture, the putting on of the crown. Then you have the Queen's coronation. It's just absolutely beautiful, isn't it?
I can hear the Zadok the priest from the last coronation rings in my ears, and I think they probably had it then as well.
They did, look it.
Yeah.
And as Solomon was anointed king by Zadok the priest. Yep.
Does it say they were singing that too? The handle. Well, it may not say it there.
It may not say it there, but
They certainly did in 53.
In 53, yeah. So it's just wonderful for me to have found this. I'm finding so many wonderful, having sort of been sitting on a shelf for a while, undiscovered treats, if you like, in that archive
There's
room.
some wonderful musicians here, so you can get the music, I think, here.
Yes, Henry Purcell,
Purcell, Gibbons,
Boyce. Yes.
Lovely.
Lovely. So, but what's wonderful for me, of course, to have found this is knowing that Alberta and George would have attended this coronation in 1937, and George, your grandfather, would have then, of course, been wearing the robes and the coronet.
And he also was a personal, or they were personal friends of the Archbishop of that time, who took the service.
Right.
How they met, I don't know, but he used to go and stay at Hinchinbrook, Cosmo Lang.
Right, right. Well, he's mentioned in here as well. So yes, there you go. And I'm sure I'll uncover letters between George and Alberta and
certainly
Cosmo,
in
the Archbishop.
Monument room at the moment. Yeah.
Yes, yes, the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yeah.
So let me ask you then, do we still have the robes and the coronet by chance?
Well, it is said so, but we haven't yet tested it because after the move from here, we put everything into slightly different places. I mean, I thought they were in the cupboard upstairs, to be honest, because that's where the dresses are still, aren't they?
Yes, yes.
All the older dresses.
Yes, I believe some of those dresses. That will be another episode. I believe a couple of those are Alberta's dresses.
Well, I don't think we're going to do that now.
No. No, but you think that I might discover them. I might have a little. I mean, I'm very good at solving mysteries
Finding
recently
things,
and finding things. So I might have a little
Well,
snoop around.
it's a matter of which chest, because I mean, got a lot of chests around, and it just needs a lot of hours.
Exactly. Well, I'll have a snoop around and see what I can find, and if I do find something, I will let you know.
By the way, I haven't told you my story of meeting the Queen. The only time I have met Her Majesty.
What?
Well, her private secretary, you see, was Martin Charteris, who was one of the family, extension of our family anyway. And we were invited to St James's Palace for some event, I've forgotten what it was. And I was introduced to the Queen, having just come back from a trans-Saharan or some African expedition. And all I can remember was she said nothing and was about a foot shorter than I was. And I just kept talking and talking and talking, getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And then eventually it all came to an end. I left, or we parted. So that's my story of meeting the Queen.
I think that is a wonderful story. But you were able to see the Queen quite a bit in your time in Parliament because she would always open. So you'd be sat in.
Well, we only went to the opening once, in fact, because you then had to find a robe. I had to borrow a robe at that time.
Right,
and
right.
The coronation robe is a different thing from an ornamental robe in the House of Lords.
Okay.
So we didn't go to the regular ones. But of course, I've seen
Yes.
the Queen on and off from a distance. Yeah.
Well, listen, what I'll do is I will go have just a snoop around and see if I can find
Right.
those coronation robes and the coronet. So stay tuned, everybody. This video is not ending yet, but I do just want to say thank you very much for sharing not only your memories of 1953 with me, but with everybody here watching, because I think these are important to get a record of, and you know, for us who weren't around during that time, to be able to hear your stories and what it was like to be there.
Good. Well, let's
Brilliant.
have a hunt and see what we
Yeah.
find.
All right, we're off on a bear hunt, everybody. Well, that was some hunt. We literally went around the house and searched through chests, closets, looking for the coronation robe and the coronets. And finally, I mean, this was after a lot of searching, we found them! We were so excited when we opened up the chest and there they were. Wow. When I found these, I just thought, I can't even believe that I'm looking at these exquisite coronets and the robe itself. So the robe is made of beautiful velvet and silk, and then stitched on the inside is the name Earl of Sandwich. Then, of course, there are the coronets, and I'm just going to start with what the Earl would have worn. So this, you can tell, is an Earl's coronet. It has 8 silver balls and 8 strawberry leaves. And the silver balls are on top of stems. And these balls are referred to actually as pearls, even though they're not. And this is what the Earl would have worn in the Earl of Sandwich in 1953. But really what surprised me, I did not know this, was that the Countess also was wearing a coronet as well. And again, 8 silver balls and 8 strawberry leaves. But yet, when on the head, you would see, forward facing, you would be able to see 5 of the balls and 4 of the strawberry leaves. Now, we also know, speaking to my father-in-law, and of course from the invitations that were received to Viscount and Viscountess Hinchingbrook in 1937 and in 1953, that they probably attended as well. But their coronets for Viscount and Viscountesses, they're different. They're actually 16 silver balls, all touching each other and not perched onto a stem, and there aren't any strawberry leaves. So had I been invited to the coronation of King Charles III, that is what this Viscountess would have been wearing on her head. So really wonderful for me to find these family heirlooms. I think I might give them a little bit of a polish, definitely showcase them somewhere here in the house, but exciting to reveal all of this to you. And yeah, it's been such a fun day finding these, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Do comment down below. Be sure to subscribe, like, turn notifications on, because we have so much going on here on the American Viscountess channel. From the American Viscountess at Home playlist, also to our historic houses episodes, as well as the Alberta Research Project YouTube lives. Do check it out. All details down below. Bye, everybody.